Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive deep into some fascinating stuff about the Quran? Today, we're looking at how the Quran talks about itself, like its importance and stuff, maybe even prophecies.
It sounds pretty intense.
Oh, it is. And get this, our source material this time, get this, is a simulated conversation with an AI chatbot.
Whoa, really? An AI chatbot talking about the Quran?
Yeah, it focused on Quranic interpretation, and honestly, some seriously thought-provoking stuff came out of it.
I can imagine. So where do we even start with something like that?
Well, the chatbot started with a verse from the Quran, Surah Al-Mursalat, verse 50. It asks, what comes after the Quran that people would believe in? Talk about a bold statement right off the bat.
Wow, yeah, that definitely sets the tone. It's like it's emphasizing that there's nothing more important, nothing with more authority than the Quran.
Right, like, if you reject this, then what else is there? But what really got me was that the verse uses the word hadith for statement.
Uh-huh. You mean the word we usually associate with the Prophet Muhammad's sayings and actions?
Exactly. But in the Quran, hadith can have a broader meaning, like any discourse or message.
So it's not just limiting it to those specific sayings, but asking what message, any message, could possibly be more important than the Quran.
It's like the Quran itself is questioning whether anything else can truly measure up.
Hmm.
Which makes me think, how did following other sources become so central in Islam if the Quran seems to be saying it's the ultimate guide?
That's a really good question. It seems like there's some tension there, a disconnect we need to look at. And actually, there are more verses in the Quran that echo this idea. Like Surah Al-Jathiyah, verse 6, and Surah Al-Araf, verse 185, they both use hadith similarly.
Oh, really? How so?
It's almost like they're throwing down a challenge saying, these are God's verses, so why would you believe any other hadith after this?
Wow, that's intense. It's like the Quran is drawing a line in the sand saying, listen up, this is the ultimate source of guidance. But then we came across another verse, and it honestly blew me away.
Which one?
Surah Al-Furqan, verse 30, it talks about Prophet Muhammad, and he's actually complaining to Allah, saying his people have abandoned the Quran.
Whoa, that's heavy stuff. I mean, the Prophet himself, who received and shared the Quran, is worried people are turning away from it. That's a serious warning.
Right. It's almost like a prophecy, predicting that people would stray from the Quran's message. And what's crazy is how relevant it feels today. I mean, think about it. Even with good intentions, so many Muslims might focus more on secondary sources or cultural practices instead of really engaging with the Quran itself.
It's a really powerful parallel, a verse from centuries ago, and it seems to describe our current situation perfectly. It's easy for the Quran's message to get lost in this world of information overload and different interpretations.
Exactly. It's a serious wake-up call for us to reconnect with the core of our faith. And this warning, this sense of urgency, gets even stronger when you look at another verse. Our chatbot highlighted Surah Al-An'am, verse 1 and 12.
What does it say?
It says every prophet has a devil assigned to them.
Whoa, a devil, that sounds intense.
It does, right. But I think it's more metaphorical. Like, even the purest messages can get distorted or corrupted over time.
Right, even with the best intentions, human interpretations and biases can creep in, and the original message changes.
Exactly. It's like a cautionary tale, reminding us to be super careful about where we get our religious knowledge from.
Yeah.
And then this idea of potential corruption, it ties back to that powerful image in the Quran, the beast that emerges from the earth.
You mean the one in Surah An-Naml, verse 82?
Yeah. It says the beast emerges because people lost faith in God's revelations. Pretty bleak picture, right?
Yeah, a world turning away from the truth.
But here's the thing. This beast might not be what we usually think. Our chatbot suggested a completely different possibility. What if the beast is actually something positive? What if it represents Hanif?
Hanif. You mean pure monotheism, the faith associated with Prophet Ibrahim.
Yes. So maybe, just maybe, this beast isn't some scary monster. Maybe it's pure, unadulterated faith coming back to challenge all those traditions that have strayed away from it.
That's a really interesting interpretation. Instead of something negative, the beast becomes a force for renewal, pushing us back to the core principles of faith. Like the Quran is predicting it will be pushed aside, and then this pure monotheism will come back to fix things.
It's mind-blowing, like a built-in mechanism for truth to break through. And it makes you think differently about those traditional interpretations that make the beast seem so negative.
Absolutely. If the beast is actually Hanif, it makes sense that those attached to those traditions would see it as a threat. It's all about perspective, how we see things.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really important point. How we understand the Quran depends a lot on our own beliefs and biases. So maybe this beast isn't a creature at all. Maybe it's the Quran's message itself, cutting through all the noise and challenging us to see how we might have strayed from its guidance.
That's a really powerful insight. And it goes back to those earlier verses we talked about. It's like the Quran is calling us to return to its pure message, look closely at what we believe and how we practice, and put its guidance above everything else.
Whoa, that's a lot to process. But I definitely want to dig deeper into this idea of the beast as Hanif.
Yeah, how do we recognize this pure faith among all the different interpretations and practices out there? That's the next big question. So how do we recognize this pure form of faith with so many different interpretations and practices out there? That's the tough question.
Yeah, like it's a maze out there.
Yep.
Opinions everywhere, interpretations, information overload. How do we figure out what really aligns with what the Quran's saying?
You're right, it's overwhelming. But I think the Quran actually encourages us to use our brains, to be critical, to really think for ourselves.
Oh, interesting. Like how?
Well, like in Surah Az-Zumar, verse 18, it talks about those who listen to the word and follow the best of it. It doesn't say, just accept everything you hear. You got to engage with it, think about it, figure out what really resonates with you.
I like that. Be an active participant, not just blindly accepting whatever you're told.
Exactly. And Surah Al-Isra, verse 36, it's even more direct. It warns against blindly following what you don't know about. Like, seek knowledge, verify it, question things, understand them before you just accept something as truth.
That's powerful. And it reminds me of something else from our chatbot conversation. Surah Al-An'am, verse 116. It warns against just going along with the majority because they might be totally wrong.
Right. Just because something's popular doesn't make it true. That's such an important reminder.
It is. Especially nowadays with so much information constantly coming at us, it's easy to just get swept up in what everyone else is doing.
Exactly. That verse is like a reminder to step back, think critically, and make your own decisions about what you believe.
Like we need to be spiritual detectives. Using the Quran as our guide and evidence, it makes me think of those verses, Surah Al-Furqan, verses 27 through 29, where someone's regretting not following the right path, saying, "Oh, woe to me. I wish I had not taken that one as a friend. He led me away from the remembrance after it had come to me."
Powerful, right? The consequences of choosing the wrong path, letting ourselves be swayed by the wrong people.
Heavy stuff.
Right.
And it brings us back to those devils assigned to every prophet. Even the purest messages can be twisted over time.
It's a sobering thought, but it reminds us how vital it is to keep coming back to the Quran, using it as our guide, our compass, in this world full of conflicting voices.
Totally. So how do we actually do that? How do we navigate this complex landscape and make sure we're really in line with the Quran's message?
It's the big question, right? There's no easy answer. It's a journey. But a few things come to mind. First, make the Quran a central part of your life.
Not just like a book on the shelf, but actually reading it.
Yes. Read it regularly, not just as a ritual, but for guidance, for inspiration. Really think about the verses, their meanings, how they connect to your life.
Building a personal relationship with the Quran.
Exactly. Second, be critical of the information you come across. Don't just blindly accept interpretations from others, no matter how smart or respected they seem.
Question everything.
Exactly. Cross-reference different sources. Use your intellect, your reason to reach your own understanding.
Be active, not passive.
Yes. And finally, remember understanding the Quran is ongoing. It's not a finish line you cross. It's a lifelong process of learning and growing, being open to new perspective.
Always learning, always growing. As we're talking, it hits me that maybe this whole beast emerging from the earth, this resurgence of pure monotheism, maybe it's meant to shake things up, like to challenge us, make us question our assumptions, and force us to re-engage with the Quran on a deeper level.
I love that. That's really insightful. It fits perfectly with the idea that the Quran is prophetic. It's not just a set of rules or old stories.
It's a living message, still relevant today, pushing us to grow in our understanding.
And that growth might mean questioning traditions or interpretations we've inherited. It might mean going back to the Quran itself, finding new meanings, new relevance for our lives today.
A call for change, a return to the heart of Islam.
Exactly. Stripping away the layers, getting back to the essence, the oneness of God, living by his principles. It's a message that goes beyond time and culture, relevant to everyone.
That's powerful, especially in our world today, so divided. The Quran offers this path to unity and peace, a guide to building a just world.
And it starts with each of us, internalizing the message, changing ourselves first, and letting that change spread outwards.
A beautiful vision. But honestly, this journey back to the Quran, it can be tough, can it? Questioning things we've always believed, figuring out interpretations, it can be unsettling.
You're absolutely right. It's not always easy. It takes patience, persistence, a willingness to learn and grow.
But it's worth it.
It is. It can lead to such a deeper understanding of our faith, a stronger connection with God.
And it's a journey we should take together, supporting each other, sharing what we learn, talking openly and honestly about the Quran and what it means for us.
Absolutely. This isn't about going off on our own. It's about building a community, learning together, rediscovering the beauty and wisdom of the Quran, and figuring out how to apply its teachings today.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with this. Take some time to reflect on your own relationship with the Quran. How do you engage with it? What role does it play in your life? What could you learn more about? What assumptions could you challenge?
It's a journey worth taking. Remember, the Quran is our guide. It's full of wisdom, waiting for us to explore it. Let its message be your compass, guiding you towards a truer, more fulfilling expression of faith.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been incredible exploring these ideas with you. Hopefully it's given you some new things to think about, some new questions to ask. Until next time, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep striving to live your life by the light of the Quran.
So we've really gone deep on some pretty amazing ideas about the Quran today, haven't we? How it talks about itself, the whole beast symbolism. It's been a lot to take in. It has. And now as we start wrapping things up, I think it's time to talk about what all this means for us practically in our daily lives. How do we actually APPLIY these ideas?
Exactly. We can talk all day, but how does it all actually play out in the real world, in our lives as Muslims today?
Well, one big takeaway, I think, is that we have to look really closely at where we're getting our religious knowledge from.
So like not just accepting anything anyone tells us, even if they seem like an authority.
Right. The Quran itself says it's the primary guide, so we need to think critically about how much weight we give to other things, like traditional interpretations or cultural practices.
So not necessarily rejecting them completely, but always checking them against the Quran.
Exactly. Asking ourselves, does this interpretation match up with what the Quran says? Is this practice actually rooted in the Quran?
Hmm.
We need to use our own minds, our reason, alongside the guidance of knowledgeable scholars to make sure our understanding of Islam is really based on the Quran itself.
That might even mean questioning things we've always believed or grown up with. That could be pretty tough for some people, to let go of things they hold dear.
It can be. It takes humility, being willing to admit that we don't know everything and that our understanding can change. And yeah, sometimes we might have to let go of certain beliefs if they don't line up with the Quran.
And that brings us back to this beast, as Hanif, pure monotheism, coming back to challenge everything. It's like a call to strip away all the layers, the cultural baggage, and get back to the core of Islam.
Yes. Rediscover the beauty and simplicity of the Quran's message, the oneness of God, living a life guided by his principles. That's something timeless, something relevant for everyone, no matter their background.
That's amazing, especially in our world today with so much division. The Quran offers this path to unity, to peace, a way to build a truly just world where everyone's treated with respect.
And it starts with each of us individually. We have to let the Quran's message change us from within, and then that change can spread outward to our families, communities, the whole world.
That's a powerful vision. But let's be real, this journey back to the Quran, it's not always going to be easy. It can be confusing, unsettling, trying to figure out interpretations and question things you've always believed.
You're right. It takes work, patience, a willingness to keep learning and growing, but it's so worth it.
Totally agree.
It can bring you a deeper connection with your faith, with God.
And it's a journey we need to take together.
Yeah.
We need to support each other, share what we learn, talk openly and honestly about the Quran and how it applies to our lives.
Absolutely. It's not about isolating ourselves. It's about building a community of learners, working together to unlock the wisdom of the Quran and figure out how to live by its teachings in the world today.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's my challenge to everyone listening. Take some time to reflect on your own relationship with the Quran. How do you connect with it? How does it affect your life? What else could you learn? What beliefs could you question? It's a journey worth taking.
And remember, the Quran is our guide. It's filled with wisdom, waiting for us to discover it. Let its message lead you, guide you to a more authentic and fulfilling way of living your faith.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been amazing exploring these ideas with you all. Hopefully you've got some new things to think about, some new questions to ponder. Until next time, keep seeking knowledge, keep asking questions, and keep striving to live a life guided by the Quran.
I'm the beast, all you knew. This this reflects the things you do. Soul's dark night, your worst fear, haunting in the house of mirror. What a lofty rank, a sight so sublime, as lives are scattered, yet deeds stack in time. Good actions flow from Allah, that's the score. True treasures rise, let the envy galore. Compete with your heart, let your spirit ignite. Bounty from Allah shines ever so bright. A rank like this, precious breaths must align. Race towards the truth, let your aspirations shine. Are the beast, are you new? This reflects the things you do. Soul's dark night, your worst fear, haunting in the house of mirrors. A haunting in the house of mirrors. A haunting in the house of mirrors. What a lofty rank, a sight so sublime, as lives are scattered, yet deeds stack in time. Worldly knowledge flows, medicine to the stars. Engineers building dreams and hope from afar. Intention must be pure, let the people rise. Community uplifted through sincerity we prize. Fog and fire, it's the duty we all share. Strive for the good, leave complacency bare. Lift the load on our backs, let unity prevail. A heart true to Allah will surely set sail. Teachers and seekers, time for reflection. Sincerity's the key, not just your connection. Prioritize the truth, leave the worldly behind. Success in the sciences, with pure hearts aligned. I'm the beast, aren't you new? This reflects the things you do. Soul's dark night, your worst fear, a haunting in the house of mirrors. 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 Worldly knowledge flows, medicine to the stars. Engineers building dreams and hope from afar. Intention must be pure, let the people rise. Community uplifted through sincerity we prize. Fog and fire, it's the duty we all share. Strive for the good, leave complacency bare. Lift the load on our backs, let unity prevail. A heart true to Allah will surely set sail. I'm the beast, aren't you new? This reflects the things you do. Soul's dark night, your worst fear, a haunting in the house of mirrors. Computing knowledge flows, medicine to the stars. Engineers building dreams and hope from afar. Intention must be pure, let the people rise. Community uplifted, through sincerity we prize. Fog and fire, it's the duty we all share. Strive for the good, leave complacency bare. Lift the load on our backs, let unity prevail. A heart true to Allah will surely set sail. Teachers and seekers, time for reflection. Sincerity's the key, not just your connection. Prioritize the truth, leave the worldly behind. Success in the sciences with pure hearts alive. The beast, aren't you new? This reflects the things you do. A haunting in the house of mirrors. A haunting in the house of mirrors. Sincere to Allah, success comes your way. One heart's pure labor can brighten the day. A nation's worth in a single soul's fight. Together we rise, igniting the light. I'm the beast, I thought you knew. This reflects the things you do. Soul's dark night, your worst fear, a haunting in the house of mirrors. What a lofty rank, a sight so sublime, as lives are scattered, yet deeds stack in time. Good actions flow from Allah, that's the score. True treasures rise, let the envy galore. Compete with your heart, let your spirit ignite. Bounty from Allah shines ever so bright. A rank like this, precious breaths must align. Race towards the truth, let your aspirations shine. I'm the beast, I thought you knew. This reflects the things you do. Soul's dark night, your worst fear, a haunting in the house of mirrors. What a lofty rank, a sight so sublime, as lives are scattered yet deeds stack in time. Good actions flow from Allah, that's the score. True treasures rise like the envy galore. Compete with your heart, let your spirit ignite. Bounty from Allah shines ever so bright. A rank like this, precious breaths must align. Race towards the truth, let your aspiration shine. Worldly knowledge flows, medicine to the stars. Engineers building dreams and hope from afar. Intention must be pure, let the people rise. Community uplifted, through sincerity we prize. For art to fire, it's the duty we all share. Strive for the good, leave complacency bare. Lift the load on our backs, let unity prevail. Our heart true to Allah will surely set sail. Teachers and seekers, time for reflection. Sincerity's the key, not just your connection. Prioritize the truth, leave the worldly behind. Success in the sciences with pure hearts aligned. I'm the beast, I thought you knew. This reflects the things you do. Soul's dark night, your worst fear, are haunting in the house of mirrors. What a lofty rank, a sight so sublime. As lives are scattered yet deeds stack in time. Good actions flow from Allah, that's the score. True treasures rise, let the envy galore. Here to Allah, success comes your way. One heart's pure labor can brighten the day. A nation's worth in a single soul's fight. Together we rise, igniting the light. I'm the beast, I thought you knew. This reflects the things you do. Soul's dark night, your worst fear, are haunting in the house of mirrors. I'm the beast, I thought you knew. This reflects the things you do. Soul's dark night, your worst fear, are haunting in the house of mirrors. What a lofty rank, a sight so sublime. As lives are scattered yet deeds stack in time. Good actions flow from Allah, that's the score. True treasures rise, let the envy galore. Sincere to Allah, success comes your way. One heart's pure labor can brighten the day. A nation's worth in a single soul's fight. Together we rise, igniting the light.
Kula radam and kana min inda lahi suma kafir tum bihi man adala miman huwa fi shakakam baed. Sanyarihim ayatina fila faki wafi infusum hada yada bayana layam anahal hak, awa lam yakfi by rabika anahuala kuli shayan shahid. Wa azawaka al kalu alayhim akrajna layam deabatan min al ardi tukal limuamanan nasakanu by ayatina layu kanun. Wayama nashura min kuli yamatan fajan mimani yukazabu by ayatina fayam yuzaun. Hataiza jo okala akazaptam by aayati wa lam tuhita biha ilman amazaza kuntum tamalun. Say to them, have you considered, if this Quran is really from God and you still reject it, then who could be more astray than someone who has drifted far away from the truth? We shall show them our signs in the universe and within themselves, until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth. Is it not enough that your Lord is the witness of all things? When God's word is justly carried out against them, we will produce a creature from the earth which will tell them that mankind had no real faith in our signs. On that day we shall assemble together a host from every community of those who cried lies to our revelations, and they will be grouped then. When they have arrived, he will say, did you deny my revelations, even though you did not have proper knowledge of them? Or what was it that you were doing?